Hey guys, it's your girl John John. I'm back with another video. I know I've been MIA, right? But listen, life has been lifing. Not necessarily in a bad way. Um, Mostly in a good way. I've been really busy. But yeah, today I want to ask you a question, right? Have you ever looked just like you had it all together spiritually, but inside you were like just fighting battles that nobody knew about? Last year, I was on the praise and worship team. Every week, I was singing, I was ministering, I was encouraging people to draw closer to God. I was praying that chains would break off other people's lives. But the truth is, I was helping others experience freedom while I felt completely bound. I remember there was a season where I could not pray. I tried, I wanted to, but every time I sat down to pray, it felt like I hit a wall. I couldn't fast, I couldn't read my Bible, I couldn't find the strength to do things that, once came like just naturally to me, just like reading the Bible, getting up every day, spending time with the Lord. Like, I really struggled with doing all of that. What made it even more confusing was that I was doing all the right things. I was going to church every Sunday. I was attending Bible studies when I could. I was showing up to deliverance services. I was receiving the word every week. Yet somehow I felt trapped. My mind was exhausted, like exhausted. My spirit felt heavy. It was like I was just walking around with invisible chains that nobody could see. Then something happened, right? Well, something started happening. Every Sunday during praise and worship, I would cry, not once, not twice, almost every week. I would stand there and tears would just begin to fall. At the time, I didn't understand it. I kept asking God, what is wrong with me? Why am I crying all the time? But some people probably looked at me and assumed I was just emotional. Some may have thought I was simply going through a hard season. And yes, I was. But looking back now, I realized something deeper was happening. God was healing me. Those were tears, were like not actually defeat. Those tears were evidence that God was breaking something off of my life. The very chain that had me holding captive were beginning to loose. The Bible is filled with people who experience this kind of freedom. When we think about Samson, he was physically bound with ropes, but when the Spirit of God came upon him, those ropes became like burnt flocks and fell away. Think about Peter in prison. He was chained between soldiers, and God sent an angel to release him. The chains fell off before Peter could even understand what was happening. Then there was Lazarus. Even after he came out of the tomb, he was still wrapped in grave clothes. Jesus told the people around him to loose him and let him go. Sometimes God bring us out of some situation, but there's some things that really need to fall off. Looking back, I realized that was me, right? I was showing up every week crying, carrying things I wasn't meant to carry. I was alive spiritually, but wrapped in some grave clothes. I was called, but I was wounded. I love God, but I was struggling. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're serving, maybe you're leading, maybe you're showing up every Sunday, maybe everyone around you thinks you're strong, but secretly you're fighting battles in your mind. You're struggling to pray, you're struggling to read the word, you're struggling to understand your relationship with God doesn't feel the same way. It doesn't feel like oh it used to be. I want you to know something. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean God has abandoned you. Just because you're crying doesn't mean you're weak. Just because you're in church while carrying chains doesn't mean those chains will stay there forever. Sometimes healing doesn't happen in one moment. Sometimes freedom happens layer by layer, tear by tear, Sunday after Sunday, prayer after prayer, until one day you look back and realize that the thing used to hold you captive no longer has power over you. Today, I can honestly say that God brought me through that season, not because I was strong, not because I had all the answers, but because God was faithful enough to keep working on me even when I couldn't see what I was doing. So in your season where you feel bound, don't give up. Keep showing up, keep worshiping, keep seeking God even when it is difficult, because sometimes the tears are not a sign that you're losing the battle. They're a sign that the chains are breaking and freedom may be closer than you think. It's your girl, Jan Jan. Until next time, see you. Love you guys so much.